Do we begin housekeeping comments, please?
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-3247. That's 909-396-3247. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Si asiste en persona, favor de no conectarse a la conferencia telefónica o Zoom mientras esté en el auditorio y silencie sus dispositivos. Si traducción es disponible, haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla para seleccionar inglés o español. Se tomarán comentarios del público después de cada punto. Si se encuentra en el auditorio y desea dar comentario, utilice los iPads ubicados en el vestíbulo o complete una tarjeta azul según esté disponible. Si necesita ayuda, localice a un empleado de South Coast AQMD. Los comentarios pueden ser limitados a un total de 3 minutos o menos para todos los puntos de la agenda. El tiempo límite puede ser reducido para que todos los comentarios puedan ser escuchados. Se mostrará un temporizador de cuenta regresiva en la pantalla para cada comentario público. Se asignará más tiempo para traducción al español si no es simultáneo. Si tiene preguntas o problemas sobre cómo hacer un comentario público, llame al asesor público al 909-396-3247. 909-396-3247. Respete el tiempo límite y favor de tratar a los demás con cortesía, civilidad y respeto. De lo contrario, es posible que se silencie el micrófono o que sea retirado de la reunión. Tenga en cuenta que esta reunión está siendo grabada. Al participar, usted autoriza la grabación de audio y contenido visual presentado durante el evento en vivo y da su consentimiento para el uso de la grabación en el dominio público por parte de South Coast AQMD.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. And everyone, welcome to the Friday, May 1st, 2026 Governing Board meeting of the South Coast Air Quality Management District. Welcome, everyone. And we'll start off with the Senator and Chair Emeritus Vanessa Delgado will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please raise your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Faye, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Mayor Locke Dawson is absent. Senator Delgado.
Here.
Supervisor Hagman. Supervisor Mitchell.
Present.
Councilmember Nazarian. Supervisor Nguyen. Vice Mayor Olmos.
Here.
Board Member Padilla Campos.
Here.
Supervisor Perez is absent. Mayor Rodriguez is absent. Dr. Rutland is absent. Vice Chair McCallan.
Here.
Chair Cacchiotti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Opening comments, board members, are there any opening comments? Supervisor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take a moment to recognize AQMD staff for their continued engagement with the County of Orange. I really appreciate the collaboration regarding our grant funding efforts that will help us transition to lower emission equipment. These investments are important for us to reduce emission while keeping our operation efficient and reliable. I also understand that there's an item coming to the Technology Committee related to additional grant funding as well. And so I look forward to those discussions and really appreciate the continuous partnership with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wanted to share, like you often do, about an amazing experience I recently had in my district in the fantastic community of South Los Angeles, from which I hail. And I want you to see the future of California. These are a group of young people who have organized themselves, and they call themselves Greenhouse South LA. They have built literally themselves an all-electric home with all electric appliances, including a heat pump, electric water heater, electric induction oven, electric dryer, electric car charger. They have an amazing group of adults who've, as you see, converted the garage into a training facility. So not only do they have incredible personal agency as high schoolers, where they go around in their community to advocate and educate community members in a culturally competent way about the benefits of electrification. They're also training the next workforce. They are learning how to install. The house next door to the right of that picture, they have convinced the long-term homeowners about the value, and some of those young people we saw in those pictures were actually going to go the next day to install a couple of those heat pumps. So they're amazing. They are, like I said, they have incredible personal agency. They're strong advocates. They lobbied me on the values of zero emission. They wanted to talk about affordability. They emphasize the cost benefits of going all electric. And they're also very interested in making our Go Zero incentives available for window heat pump units. Those images, that's a picture of one that they know how to install right there. So I wanted to share that with all of you and strongly encourage you to come tour Greenhouse South LA and meet really our future advocates. I was deeply impressed, and as you all know, I'm not easily impressed, but those young people were phenomenal. I presented them and introduced them on the floor of the Board of Supervisors this last Tuesday in recognition of Earth Day and Climate Awareness Month, because they're our future. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I encourage you all to check them out. I hope you go tour.
We will, Supervisor. Hope you, maybe in the summer, if they're out of school, you can invite them up here on a Friday morning so we can honor them. That's incredible. Great work. Any other board members? I have a couple of photos too. We had a couple visits of different facilities over the last 2 weeks. And this one is at a large commercial kitchen bakery down near Little Tokyo, just south of Metro. And this is our staff who was there, Heather, Michael. We're touring. That's an almost 90 or 85-foot long electric oven. You see it's, what do they call it, Mike? Panko? Panko? Breadcrumbs? Panko bread. That's what they're producing right there. Next. And this is what comes out of that oven. This huge pieces of dough and bread as they process it. Next. And here it comes down a conveyor belt. And they've got some natural gas pieces of equipment. That's why we have a permit there. Next. And there's a automated robot doing the finishing project, putting those 30, 40-pound bags of panko, which go to your nearest restaurant. And they actually produce, looking at this, thank you, Michael and Heather, in their permit, they shall process no more than 3,600,000 pounds of bread in any 1 month. That's how much goes through this one facility. Great job, but it shows you how big an electric oven can be, and that does work. Next. And we also stopped at Marathon, one of the largest oil refineries. Wayne, is that on the west coast or west of the Mississippi? West of the Mississippi. There we are in their conference room. Wayne, Susan, staff. And next. So we went out to the docks, San Pedro ports to tour. If you look in the background, that's a Chinese ship unloading over there across from us. They've got a facility there where actually we missed it by 1 hour, but we saw them leaving. A large oil tanker pulls up next. And this is overlooking the ports. And in the background, you can't really see it, but there's a big pipe coming from the ports right there, about 200 or 300 yards out. And the oil tanker will back up there and unload hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil. And I said, where does that go? So it goes through the pipe 5 to 7 miles to their facility. And it's pumped there. I'd asked them how much it cost to pump it. They didn't know, because I know when we pump water from San Gabriel to our city, it's half of our electric cost for the city. So that must be a big cost. But it's really interesting to see how they get the oil from an Alaskan tanker coming down, parks, unloads it, pumps it 5 to 7 miles to refinery, and a refinery process starts. Next. And there's that large ship that's loading just across the way, and you can see the docks right there for the oil tankers when they come in. Next. Then we did a little tour of the oil refinery down to Marathon. Next. And this is one of our fence line monitoring systems we went by and saw. Next, I think that might be it. Perfect, that's it. We'll now move on to no more board comments, on to public comment. Okay.
Public comment now?
Mr. Chair,
Oh, Wayne, I'm sorry, Wayne, Wayne has comments, my fault. Go on, Wayne.
thank you. I have 3 items. First, staff recommends continuing item number 31 to next month, given that we have 3 board members absent today that were involved in discussions last month. Second, the governing board student internship program, we have notified those students that have been selected, and we have 2 cohorts. The first one is an 11-week program that starts on Tuesday, May 26th. And the second one is a 7-week program, and that starts on Tuesday, June 23rd. The third item that I'd like to note is that working with Habitat for Humanity and Community Build in Altadena, staff will be volunteering to support families in Altadena to rebuild and recover from the Eaton fire. And we want to make sure that you, board members, staff, family, and friends are all welcome. You do have to be 18 years of age or older. The project build in Altadena will be on Saturday, May 23rd from 7:45 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And if you'd like further information, just let us know and we'd be happy to provide you with that information. That concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Wayne. So just if you can repeat for people that might have just plugged in virtually, we're continuing one item. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yes, staff's recommending continuing item number 31. This is dealing with the wood coatings solvent issue. It's primarily dealing with the removal of 2 carcinogenic materials from those wood coatings. That's Rule 1136.
1136, okay. So just a question, since we've, is there any opposition to pulling that item?
Time sensitive?
Wayne?
By pulling it, it would come back before the board next month.
No,
31?
They moved it.
Agenda item 31.
Mhm.
Seeing no okay. Seeing no opposition, it'll be continued. Just a question, Wayne, for process, Bay. There may be people here to testify since it's no longer on the agenda. Could they testify during public comment, general public comment?
Yes, that would be my recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bay. Thanks, Wayne. Okay, let's go to public comment, and Vice Chair McCallum will lead us.
Thank you. First off, we have Tomas Castro, followed by Sapna Paruvimba. Sorry about the name pronunciation. Go ahead.
Good morning, board members. My name is Tomas Castro. I'm an organizer with Climate Action Campaign, and I'm here to implore that this board do everything in its power to pass strong zero emission standards for Rules 1146 and 1146.1. The South Coast region is among the most polluted in the nation, with communities of color and low-income families bearing the brunt of the health impacts that we have long failed to address. A strong zero emission standard for gas boilers will save thousands of lives and billions of dollars in healthcare costs. This is especially true at universities in Southern California, where students are standing up to demand clean air. No less than 10 campuses, USC, UC Riverside, UCI, UCLA, Cal State Long Beach, the Claremont Colleges, Loma Linda, and the UC Student Association have passed resolutions demanding a zero emission standard for the industrial rules. Please prioritize their concerns instead of the concerns of polluters. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomas. Next, Sapna, followed by Casey Gagwan. Sorry about the name pronunciations.
No problem. Good morning, board members. I stand before you today as a proud public health graduate student representing the collective voice of hundreds of students who have worked tirelessly this year to pass 10 university-wide resolutions aimed at improving our campus and community air quality. As you know, the South Coast Air Basin is home to 17 million residents, and we're suffering from one of the worst air qualities in the nation. Gas burning boilers and process heaters are a major source of this pollution, emitting nitrogen oxides that trigger chronic disease and worsen health disparities, especially in communities of color and low-income neighborhoods. South Coast AQMD has already taken bold steps by requiring the smallest boilers to transition to zero-emission technology. This proves that the technology exists, that it works, and that it's necessary. Now we urge you to extend this leadership by to all industrial boilers and heaters by strengthening rules 1146 and 1146.1. Board members, you hold the power to shape the air we breathe, the health of our communities, and the future of our planet. And we, the students across Southern California, are counting on you to lead. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Casey, followed by Jennifer DeTaiga.
Good morning, board members. My name is student Dr. Casey Gahn. I'm a medical student at Loma Linda University. I'm speaking on behalf of our Students for a Sustainable Future group, not the university as a whole, but I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you also, Supervisor Mitchell, for sharing about that greenhouse project. I'm very excited to hear that. But specifically, I'm here to urge you to adopt strong industrial decarbonization standards by passing rules 1146 and 1146.1 this year. And I wanted to speak some from my personal experience. So in the pediatric ICU this year, I've cared for children experiencing severe asthma exacerbations who should be in school or playing, but instead they're there hooked up to oxygen on continuous monitoring. And one of the things that is most disconcerting about the experience of seeing them there is that many of these hospitalizations are preventable. And in Southern California, millions of children, especially children of color and from low-income families, are exposed to unhealthy air. Consequently, asthma remains one of the leading causes of pediatric hospital visits. Policies like rules 1146 and 1146.1 directly reduce harmful admissions and translate directly into fewer ER visits and fewer ICU admissions. This is a concrete opportunity to protect children's health. I respectfully urge you to pass these rules and help ensure that children in our region can breathe cleaner air and live healthier lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Jennifer, and then followed by Candace Youngblood.
Good morning, Chair, board members. My name is Jennifer de Tejada. I'm a policy organizer with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, CCAEJ, and a member of the SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition. Also a resident of the Inland Empire, specifically to the city of San Bernardino. Today, stationary sources like industrial boilers continue to significantly impact our air quality across the South Coast air region. There are nearly 1,900 industrial boilers contributing to smog, and about 55 of those are located in the Inland Empire, 58% of those being located in environmental justice communities. In my own communities, facilities like Community Hospital of San Bernardino, St. Bernardine Medical Center rely on these equipments, meaning even places we go for care are connected to ongoing pollution exposure. According to the recent American Lung Association report, San Bernardino and Riverside County continue to rank among the most polluted regions in the country for ozone and particle pollution. These are not just statistics, they reflect the lived reality of communities like mine. We also know that solutions exist. Transitioning to zero emission technologies for industrial boilers could prevent millions of asthma attacks and thousands of premature deaths. That's why I urge the board to explore and advance a pilot incentive program as outlined in our letter submitted by our coalition last month. We encourage the board to develop incentives that support industrial sized equipment transitioning to zero emissions in this region. Launching a $20 to $40 million pilot program, especially focused on public institutions in overburdened communities, would be a critical first steps. Our communities cannot afford more delay. We deserve clean air. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, Candace Youngblood, followed by Ellie Hawthorne.
Good morning, Chair Cacciati and members of the board. I'm Candace Youngblood with Earth Justice. I want to wish you all a happy May Day and International Workers' Day. On behalf of the SoCal Clean Manufacturing Coalition, we've come out this May Day to urge the board to advance a clean, just, and robust manufacturing base here in SoCal. And the board has two big opportunities to do this. First, we need strong regulations to curb pollution from industrial equipment like boilers. And it's wonderful to see so many students that came out today. I hope you will heed their words and adopt zero emission standards for rules 1146 and 1146.1. And the second opportunity we have is to create incentives for industrial-sized equipment to shift to zero emissions in the region. The board should launch a $20 to $40 million pilot program this summer with labor standards for a skilled and trained workforce. We have no time to waste and must meet our region's clean air obligations, especially as the federal government rolls back critical protections. This board showed leadership by adopting life-saving regulations the last time the federal government turned its back on clean air, and we know you can do it again. So we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Next, Ellie Hawthorne, followed by Quinn Bolster.
Hello, AQMD board members. My name is Elle Hawthorne, and I'm a student at Pomona College studying environmental analysis. I'm here today to demand that your agency passes strong industrial decarbonization rules 1146 and 1146.1 in 2026. Every day in my classes, I'm surrounded by the passion of students who are willing to dedicate themselves to their communities and to the earth. When I envision the future, I want a world where I can go outside and breathe clean air. How are we meant to dream of beautiful futures if different agencies prioritize the gas industry over our well-being? Air pollution brought by industrial gas boilers is not only an environmental issue, but a threat to social justice. As a Black woman, I cannot ignore how the health burdens of air pollution disproportionately impact communities of color. By refusing to act and catering to the profit-seeking gas industry, your agency shows that it does not value the well-being of people like me. As elected officials, I expect you to prioritize the health of the people. These policies will save money and healthcare costs and make tangible improvements to public health. I want to emphasize that I am not alone in my support. The student body of Pomona College has passed a resolution urging that the SC-AQMD passes these stronger rules. I and many of my fellow students have taken time away from studying for our final examinations to come here today and urge you to pass these measures. We are all counting on you to take this essential step towards clean energy that shows you value our current and future well-being. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Quinn Bolster, followed by Thomas Yelenich.
Good morning. My name is Quinn Bolster. I urge you to strengthen codes 1146 and 1146.1 to restrict industrial gas boilers and their toxic emissions. I'm a student in the Inland Empire where health risks from emissions are high. In fact, my campus has 4 of these boilers, polluting the air that me and my community breathe every day. My college and many surrounding colleges have passed resolutions that support the strengthening of Rules 1146 and 1146.1 that Elle just mentioned. We want this change. We want zero emission standards. By passing strong rules, the agency can prevent 2 million asthma attacks between 2030 and 2050, saving over 3,220 lives and recuperating $47.5 billion in healthcare costs. These crucial policies will relieve a constant public health burden that primarily impacts low-income communities of color. So I sincerely urge you, amend 1146 and 1146.1 to restrict industrial gas boilers, and please protect Southern Californians. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thomas Yelenich, and followed by Miranda Elder.
Good morning, Chair, board members. Thomas Yelenich with the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments this morning. I'm here to talk, of course, about the cooperative agreement and the CAP Plus measures. I'd like to thank the ongoing work that staff is doing to move this process forward. Recently, just yesterday, staff scheduled the next meeting in this process on May 14th. We're deeply appreciative that the process moves forward. We are a little concerned with the May 14th date that likely means that a June schedule for bringing CAP Plus measures before this board and the two ports Board of Harbor Commissioners will not be met. Presumably, this board is dark in July, which means August would be the next earliest time CAP Plus measures could be presented. So I'd ask this board to query staff about what the schedule is and how do we make sure, if not June, no later than August. We think this process has been working well. We would like to see it concluded. Again, appreciate the good work of staff, both here at the district and at the ports, moving this process forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Thomas. Miranda Elder, followed by Amy Lee. Or what? Okay.
Good morning, board members. My name is Miranda Elder, and I'm a student at Pomona College. I'm here to urge the board to pass Industrial Decarbonization Rules 1146 and 1146.1. I used to live in Seattle, and I'm surprised by how many people here, when they hear that, the first thing they say is, I heard the air is really clean there. That's really disheartening for me because that should be a right. That should be the norm. That shouldn't be something unique. My school passed a resolution in support of these strong decarbonization rules because we are tired of profit being put over our health and safety. I urge you to fulfill your duty of protecting infants, children, people with asthma, seniors, and everyone else whose health is put at risk by pollutants being released by industrial gas boilers. As an environmental justice advocate, I recognize the necessity of electrification in fighting climate change. I'm also a social justice advocate and a Black woman that recognizes that air quality issues significantly affect disadvantaged communities more. This includes low-income people and people of color the most. We as students demand that you do better. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Amy, followed by Madeline Huger.
Morning, board members. My name is Amy Lee. I am a student at Pitzer College, a member of the Claremont Colleges. I am a member of 5C Environmental Justice and on the exec board of Pitzer Eco-Reps, and I'm here to support zero emission standards for Rule 1146 and 1146.1. I've noticed walking in on the mural outside that it says air quality, clean air is a human right, and I think we need to support that. We need to protect the health of the residents of the South Coast Air District. If we amend 1146 and 1146.1, we could save $46 billion in healthcare costs. And I urge the board to live up to its mission of protecting the health of the members and of the South Coast Air District and amend 1146 and 1146.1. And like all of my peers have said before, this is a human right issue. It's a public health issue. And I hope that you guys listen to our voices. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Madeline, followed by Clarissa Aquino.
Good morning, AQMD board members. My name is Maddie Huck. I'm a sophomore at Pitzer College, and I'm here to demand that the South Coast AQMD pass Industrial Decarbonization Rules 1146 and 1146.1. Industrial gas boilers are responsible for almost a third of California's industrial emissions. The burning gas releases dangerous pollutants that increase the risk of asthma, heart disease, dementia, and even premature death. In addition, these boilers are often placed in low-income communities of color that are already disproportionately affected by these emissions. We cannot concede to the demands of the oil and gas industries that care more about profit than the people they're supposed to serve. Already they're polluting vulnerable communities in the LA County and Inland Empire regions. The Claremont Colleges have recently switched our electricity purchasing to 100% renewable energy, signifying the growing tide of environmental justice policies in the area. Furthermore, 4 of the Claremont Colleges have joined over 10 schools in the area to pass Senate resolutions in support of Rules 1146 and 1146.1. As an Orange County native, I am used to the poor air quality, but it doesn't have to be that way. We as Southern California residents have a responsibility to protect each other from dangerous air pollutants. We hope that the AQMD will make the right decision and pass these strong zero emission standards. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Clarissa, followed by Rita Loof.
Hello, AQMD board members. My name is Clarissa Aquino. I am a student at Pitzer College and a member of the Claremont College's Environmental Justice Club. I'm also a resident of Riverside. And I just really wanted to really quick mention that a lot of us are in finals right now, but nonetheless, we are still here because we really care about this issue and topic, and we want our voices to be heard. I would also like to mention that there are other students that also wanted to be here and give public comment on this, but they have thesis presentations, so they were not able to come. But I am also here representing their voices. So I'm here today to address industrial gas boilers. These boilers are a source of pollution and are harmful to the health of people. I think we've heard plenty of times that air pollution causes asthma, heart attacks, and even premature deaths. These are burdens that fall primarily on communities of color, and it is very unjust. I and many of my family members have struggled with respiratory issues, and as an older sister to a 7-year-old brother with asthma, it's very painful to see how he struggles and can't run around with other little kids because of the asthma. He's been struggling with it since like the age of 3, and it's been very disheartening and sad to see him have to go like through the hospital and like all that stuff. And I just wouldn't want that for other kids. Pollution from these industrial boilers are something that we don't want harming our communities, and really there's no need for them to be in them because electric clean energy alternatives exist. Our universities, which are implicated in this pollution because they have a few boilers, are taking proactive steps towards carbon neutrality thanks to student leadership. An example of this, as mentioned before, is how the Claremont colleges have switched from their energy plan that had fossil fuels to an energy plan that is completely clean energy, as well as all the resolutions that we have passed urging you to support rules 1146 and 1146.1 that are zero emissions. And now we're here to express basically this desire and really strongly urge you to strengthen these rules and be the leaders that we know you can be. We believe that all these other industries, not just universities, but a lot of the industrial like manufacturers can also take proactive steps towards carbon neutrality, but they need your leadership to be able to do that. And so that is my message. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, all the students that have come out. I wish you all do well on your finals. Next, Rita Loof.
Good morning, board members. Rita Loof, Director of Environmental Affairs for RadTech International. At the April board meeting, the board directed staff to analyze our proposal for Rule 1136 and come back to the Station Resource Committee with an additional option for the board. Unfortunately, staff did not honor that directive. Instead, they added some history to the staff report and doubled down on their recommendation. Our request for exemption was not a last-minute request. We have letters in the record dating back to February. I want to address the boogeyman high VOC UV coating in slide 10 of today's presentation that's being postponed. Staff seems to be confused about the process. I emailed the board the engineering evaluation done by the district's engineering division, which showed the VOC emissions from the UV process were 0. That's not RadTech saying it. That's your engineering division saying it. And by the way, the district charged that facility $7,300 to issue a piece of paper with a 0 on it. We brought the receipts. Please ask staff to produce their receipts. The statements made by staff do not match what's actually written in the rule. Staff says that the focus is to eliminate 2 cancer-causing chemicals, but the rule allows the use of those cancer-causing chemicals for 7 years. So there's really no urgency in this rule. 1136 seeks to overregulate businesses by dictating how many pieces of furniture they can paint, literally, without giving flexibility to companies that want to transition to cleaner processes like ours, subjecting businesses to unnecessary red tape. Exempting operations that use 1 gallon per day or less of material regulates production. Essentially, each company can paint 10 chairs regardless of the type of paint. So if a company wants to transition out of toxic chemicals and they can paint 20 chairs with half the emissions to the air, they would still be subject to the same regulation. The environmental justice community supports our proposal because it is more protective for the environment than the AQMD rule. Staff talks about having a public process, but when staff unilaterally decided that this is a one-issue rule, that's not a meaningful public process because input from the public is being ignored. I've provided a handout to the board with some of the options for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Also, Jennifer, you want to speak on Rule 1136?
Good morning, Chair, Board. My name is Jennifer Tejada with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, and I urge the board to not allow further exceptions that could lead to increased volatile organic compound emissions from industries. We also ask that this item be tabled to allow for more meaningful discussion and engagement with impacted communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mr. Chair, that's all in-house.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair. We'll move to virtual, and if I could ask Wayne or Bay, just before we start to virtual, can you make a comment in case people just joined virtually about item 31? So if you've just joined, there was a little change in the agenda, and Bay or Wayne will tell us.
So item number 31, which relates to proposed amended rule 1136, is going to be continued until June. There were some people in-house who had signed up to speak on that item, and so we asked them to speak now if they wanted to address that. If there's anybody online who was planning to address item number 31, now would be the time to speak.
Thank you, Bay. And again, we'll start with online testimony. After Mr. Etter speaks, I will cut off public comment online. So if you want to speak on any item not on our agenda, which now includes item 31, which is 1136, please raise your hand. Harvey, go ahead. You've got 3 minutes. Welcome, Harvey.
Thank you. Good morning. Am I being heard?
Yes, but not too clearly. Speak a little louder if you can.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's better. I'm outside and I got the phone. Anyway, my name's Harvey Etter. Good morning. I'm speaking for myself from Public Solar Power Coalition. I'm the founder director. I'd like to hit several things. Basically, there was a UN meeting in Santa Marta, Colombia this past week on a just transition to solar renewables and phasing out fossil fuels. 24 countries, the proposal submitted came out of COP30 in Brazil in November. Our governor was there bad-mouthing Trump and stuff. Nobody came from the state. We brought it up to you all at all board meetings and committee meetings this year. We got nothing. We were told it was brought out by Lisa Tanaka O'Malley at the executive committee. Mr. Krause told us about it. They said they could not deal with it because it was national proposals. Also, there were 200 countries on phasing out fossil fuels at Dubai in COP28, and 84 now. That's 40% of the countries. This was way opposed by the Saudis et al. They almost knocked out the Paris Agreement. Okay. Nobody from the state that I could tell. I went through Wade Crowfoot, head of the Resources Agency, and they did shouts out to CEC, the CARB. I testified on the 26th there at their board, and with y'all. Okay, they changed the policy. They went from 2 days to 6 days, and they include subnational groups, also including 2,000 NGOs and businesses. That is states, counties, this group, cities and counties, etc. So it's opened up. I told O'Malley that. I talked to her about a week ago on Monday. She said she was going to bring it up. There was no executive committee meeting last Tuesday. I only found out on Friday. And the one that was supposed to be on this Tuesday was also canceled. We had words. I told her how serious this was. She took it personally. I'm sorry. It's a systemic problem. We are junkies. We are like fentanyl heroin addicts to fossil fuels. That's the way it is. It's systemic. It permeates our culture. And this is a captured agency. You push fossil fuels. You ignored the Sunshot program for 10, 15 years, brought on by Obama, more or less the moonshot, and it's brought solar down, and it's cost effective. 95% of power plants going in around the world are solar, but 60% a few years ago was owned by fossil fuel companies. This has got to stop. Public solar power is the way we got to go. We're not going to meet our climate goals of reducing 45, 50% CO2 by 20, and alcohol fuels has to be used as a bridge between solar electric and hydrogen fuel cells, etc. And it's got to be done. And look at me. I'd like to welcome the students that are coming here. I was the first environmental studies student at UC Santa Cruz 56 years ago. All right. We brought this up and we taught it at the university and et cetera, and been coming to the district for over 40 years. We got run out of federal court. And also there was a meeting in February, the administrative.
Harvey, thank you so much always for your testimony. And this will cut off any more hands raised for public comment. And if there's no objection, I'd like to reduce the public comment to 2 minutes. We've got a lot of hands raised. I know we've got a big agenda ahead of us we haven't even got to. Is that okay, everybody? Okay, we'll reduce public comment to 2 minutes. And thank you, everybody, for being patient. Heaven Denham, go ahead, Heaven.
Hello, I'm a student at UCR, and we are urging the governing board to follow the recommendations of the student bodies from 10 college campuses in our region calling for zero emission standards for Rule 1146 and 1146.1. As universities account for 10% of industrial pollution in the South Coast region, students have taken the lead in developing campus decarbonization plans. As a graduate student currently teaching a class on climate change in California, I spoke to the students about the connection to air pollution and walked them through the AQMD's MATES map. With 160 students in the class, most of them, when asked who is at risk of impacts from air quality, most of them have reported they themselves or a family member has asthma. And based on the connection between poor air quality in the region and the development of respiratory diseases, students have told me how tired they are of what they see as inaction on this problem. South Coast must show strong leadership by passing industrial decarbonization rules for large gas boilers. The agency needs to continue leading the United States in the transition to zero-emission technologies for industrial equipment and continue leading the nation in the strictest of air quality standards. Thank you for considering these comments.
Thank you, Heaven, for your time. Next is Monica Orozco. Monica, go ahead, please, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, board members. I am Monica Orozco, a student at the University of Southern California, and I'm here to urge the board to pass strong industrial decarbonization rules 1146 and 1146.1 this year. Educational institutions represent 10% of the industrial emissions in our region, and we expect our elected officials to act to protect the public health of young people. Universities are often located next to environmental justice communities that face the worst impacts of the pollution our campus administrations choose to admit. Students are taking the lead in developing campus decarbonization plans. SCAQMD must show leadership by passing strong industrial decarbonization rules for large gas boilers, which account for a third of carbon emissions generated by the industrial sector. By passing strong rules, the agency can prevent millions of asthma attacks, save thousands of lives, and recuperate billions of dollars in healthcare costs. This will relieve a constant public health burden that primarily impacts low-income communities of color. BUS students have been mobilizing our campuses to actively develop decarbonization plans that call on electrifying large gas boilers. As you know, over 10 university campuses have passed resolutions calling for zero-emission industrial rules, USC passing ours in spring 2025 to electrify our industrial boilers. We need South Coast AQMD to show leadership and pass rules that incentivize the clean energy transition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Monica. Next is Nisa Jain.
Hello, my name is Nisa Jain, and I am an undergraduate student at the University of Southern California. I am majoring
Nisa, can you speak just a little louder so we can hear your testimony?
Sorry, yes, can you hear me better now?
A little louder we need. It's tough to hear.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
Better, yes.
Okay. The location in which we reside in SoCal is one that is the most polluted. As the summer smog season approaches, the region will see significant health effects, such as increase in asthma attacks. The governing board and staff's efforts to promote non-polluting equipment in the South Coast Air Quality Management District are greatly appreciated. However, there is still work to be done. There are two significant chances for the governing board to take action. First, it can establish an incentive program to supply resources for our stationary sources switch to non-polluting industrial equipment. Second, it has the authority to enact strict laws to reduce pollution from boilers and other industrial machinery. We implore the governing board to adopt zero emission criteria for rules 1146 and 1146.1 as recommended by our student bodies from 10 university and college campuses within the region. As stated in the letter our group delivered last month, we also urge the board to develop incentives for industrial-sized equipment to transition to zero emissions in the area. This summer's implementation of a 20 to 40 million pilot program is a sensible, crucial first step that shows the agency's leadership and determination. Projects in public institutions such as community colleges and hospitals in overcrowded communities with labor standards for trained and skilled staff should be the program's main focus. This agency can and should spearhead the United States shift to zero-emitting industrial equipment technology, as it has done on so many other concerns. We look forward to working with you to develop this necessary incentive program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nisa. Next is Brajesh Nigam. Brajesh, go ahead, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Hi, good morning, board members. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Brajesh Nigam, and I'm president of OrChem LLC in Chicago-based specialty chemical consulting and formulating company. We specialize in ultraviolet, electron beam, light-emitting diode curable systems used in coatings, adhesives, sealants, inks across a wide range of substrates. I am here to object on two slides. Slide number 10, where it states in the presentation for Rule 1136 is high VOC coatings used in UV LED. That is not correct. That is incorrect. All our systems by design are 100% solid. They do not contain any VOC. The current rule proposed allows for solvent-based coatings to have up to 750 grams per liter. The emission from these materials occurs via evaporation, and our systems, UV, EB, LED systems, are typically less than 50 grams per liter VOC. We are in full support of banning bad chemicals, which are proposed in this rule. However, penalizing our technology specifically and targeting that is incorrect. We request the staff to contact us, or contact Rita and other members to have a constructive discussions and accept our letter, which we have already submitted, and it's with you. Thank you again for your time, and wish everybody a wonderful weekend.
Thanks for your testimony. Next is Bill Quinn. Bill, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Bill Quinn, and I'm with the California Council for Environmental and Economic Balance, CEEB. Our members include representatives from the aerospace, entertainment, petroleum refining, and utility sectors, many of whom have facilities in the South Coast. We support the staff proposal for proposed rule amended Rule 1136. The purpose of these amendments is straightforward: to phase out the use of two compounds that the state of California has determined to be toxic. In developing these amendments, CEEB has emphasized two key principles. First, allow sufficient time for necessary reformulation, and second, conduct a technology assessment prior to the phase out of any product to ensure that it's appropriate. The staff proposal successfully meets these objectives. However, some parties have attempted to use this rulemaking process to introduce additional unrelated issues. For example, a suggestion was raised one day before the board meeting last month to replace the 1 gallon per day exemption with a 1 pound per day VOC emission limit. This proposal was not discussed during working group meetings or at any point in the rule development process. Many facilities, both large and small, rely on this current exemption. Transitioning to a 1 pound per day limit would impose meaningful operational burdens, including the need to calculate emissions and implement new record-keeping systems. SEEB strongly recommends that the amendments remain focused on the original purpose of the rulemaking. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Bill. Next is Chris Chavez from Coalition for Clean Air. Chris, welcome.
Yes, good morning. Chris Chavez, Deputy Policy Director at Coalition for Clean Air. First on Rule 1136. Again, we continue to support the phase out of those two carcinogenic chemicals. We've long stated our support for that goal, but we do support also the switch from the 1 gallon per day exemption to 1 pound per day exemption. The district is in the position of needing to achieve every ounce of air pollution reduction that it can. And we really would recommend that the district consider that to make sure that we are still reaching any and all efforts to reduce air pollution in the most polluted air basin in the nation. We also want to echo the comments from community members who spoke in favor of advancing Rule 1146 and 1146.1. Both of those are important pieces of your air quality management plan and would encourage the district to follow that plan and follow it and create a strong rule that will address, again, Southern California's longstanding air quality crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next is Marvin Norman. Welcome, Marvin.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board and public. Marvin Norman, CCAJ. I'm a San Bernardino resident. I'm commenting today. Wow, we have all the 36s. 1136. I noticed that we have been working on it, and seems like it's almost there, but we still need a little more work to do to get it to be properly working for our communities. So hopefully the staff can get those bugs worked out and we can get the rule passed. And also supporting 1146 and 1146.1 with those big boilers. It's good to be able to continue working on them and moving forward and get those processes cleaned up. I noticed we have still some more places installing new ones, and which is insane at this point. But hopefully we could bring that to around with the 1146 series. And then just general comment as well about especially with this recent change in gas prices and stuff. Hopefully the district is working with getting more dealers in the Clean Rides program or Clean Cars for All program. I can't remember what they name it now, and getting more dealers into it so that people in the Inland Empire can access it in more places that are close to them. Because I know some people like the Place Your Ride, and they have found trouble finding a dealer that's not CarMax or like the 2-4 dealers. So hopefully we can maybe outreach to Inland Empire dealers so that they can get on the program as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Doug Raymond. Doug, go ahead, please, and welcome.
What happened?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Doug Raymond. I'm a consultant for the Waterlux Coating Corporation in Cleveland, Ohio, a manufacturer of high-end wood coatings. It is my pleasure to be able to support the amendments to the Rule 1136. Myself and Waterlux have had a long history of working with Heather and the staff on the concept of reactivity. I was instrumental in working with the Air Resources Board on the reactivity rule for aerosol coatings back in the early 2000s. Reactivity is a sound science and the best way to attack the VOC reduction issue. Waterlux currently uses PCBTF and will be attempting to reformulate to meet your new reactivity limits for Rule 1136. Thus, we are in support of this rule and look forward to working with the staff on upcoming rules such as Rule 1113 and putting in more reactivity rules. As always, the staff was great to work with. Thank you for your time and consideration of this rule, and have a very nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. You too, Doug. Next is Curtis Coleman. Welcome, Curtis.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kurt Coleman, Executive Director of the Southern California Air Quality Alliance. I just want to briefly go on record as supporting Bill Quinn's comments on behalf of SEEB. We think as a process matter, it would be a mistake to go forward with a change in the exemption limit from 1 gallon per day to 1 pound a day without any detailed analysis of the impacts of that on air quality or the community. So we would recommend that the board go ahead with the staff and with the staff proposal, which we have no problem with. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. Next is Bill Lamar. Welcome, Bill.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. Good morning. I'm Bill Lamar, Executive Director of the California Alliance of Small Business Associations. We appreciate staff's work to improve 1136, and we support their proposed changes to phase out PCBTF and TBAC and to maintain the 1 gallon per day low use exemption. Conversely, we do not support transitioning to a 1 pound a day limit, as it would impose consequential and operational impacts for small business. Having to implement new records keeping systems to comply with other rules and the possibility of increasing the use of PCBTF and TBAC due to their relatively low VOC content are just two possible adverse impacts. Alliance members strongly recommend that the amendments remain focused on the original purpose of this rulemaking as reflected in staff's proposal. We respectfully request that you approve staff's proposal without modification. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Our last two speakers, Emily Nguyen.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Emily, welcome.
Okay, my name is Emily Nguyen, and I'm a senior undergraduate pre-medical student at UCLA. Last year, we experienced an unprecedented firestorm event here in LA. I'm sure you've all heard about it. Following the fires, though, I developed a respiratory condition and now use an inhaler. These fires have worsened air quality here in the South Coast Basin and has led to residents here becoming more and more aware and supportive of cleaner air. The South Coast Basin has some of the worst air quality in the nation and some of the worst rankings for ozone or smog and particle pollution. NOx emissions are a large contributor to this. And so I'm here to urge you to support the rules 1146 and 1146.1 and pass these strong zero emission industrial decarbonization rules. UCLA is actually among several other campuses that have established full resolutions in support of these rules. And we expect the board to act and protect the public health of young people. And by electrifying gas appliances, we can reduce residents' exposure to toxic NOx emissions that have been consistently linked to asthma exacerbation, lung impairment, and cardiovascular diseases. So I just urge for these rules to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, for your testimony. Our final speaker, public comment, general public comment, is Dan Titus. Welcome, Dan, and go ahead. Dan, we can't hear you. Dan, this is your chance to speak. You've got 2 minutes on general public comment. Otherwise, we'll be closing it up in a moment.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to note that people were trying to sign on after you had closed the public comment period.
Okay.
So those people that tried to sign on, we've removed them because they came on after you closed it.
Dan, you're muted now. You want to go ahead? Dan, we'll come back to you. There's another hand raised. No, Wayne. Okay, because they came after. Thank you. So Dan, you're the last one. This is your last chance. So please unmute. You might have multiple devices there. You may want to turn one off. Dan, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is
Dan, we can hear you, but it's echoing in the background. I guess that's it. Okay. Public comment, I'll close public comment, general public comment. We'll move to our regular agenda. That's a consent and board calendar. Board members, are there any disclosures? Supervisor Nguyen?
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse on item 2B. And I'm sorry. I'm recusing myself from item 2B because of a financial interest in Amazon, which is materially affected by this item. And then I would also like to record an abstention on item 13.
Thank you, Supervisor. And now we'll go to, it says you're Vice Mayor, but she's now the Mayor, City of Paramount.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. I'd also like to recuse myself from agenda number 2B because of the financial interest in Raytheon, which is materially affected by this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other disclosures, board members? There is a public comment. Let's take public comment. Item number 1. I've got a Tyler Green. Tyler, go ahead, please. Welcome, Tyler.
Hello. I would just like to speak moment.
Speak closer to the mic so we can hear you.
Is this better?
A little better.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to speak briefly and state that I'm a student at California State Long Beach, also part of the climate action campaign. We also passed decarbonization rules on my campus, and this furthers our goal to decarbonize the California State University campuses. And
Mr. Chair, obviously it's within your discretion, but I think he might be speaking under general public comment and not the minutes for the last board meeting.
The attorney's right, but we'll give you a chance. I'll give you discretion to finish up your comments, but it's tough your first time here. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bay.
I'll end my comment with, I appreciate all of you and your consideration, and I'd like this push from California State Long Beach towards decarbonization to be considered. Thank you.
Tyler, thank you. I hope they're also, I'm not sure how they maintain their lawns. They have a lot of property there. So we hope you would transition from polluting gas to electric. We'll help you do it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, all public comment is closed. We've got items 1 through 27 on the general consent and board calendar. Is there a motion? Moved by supervisors, 2 supervisors at the same time. Supervisor Mitchell, just etched down Supervisor Hyman.
Mr. Chair, may I have a moment real quick?
Yes, Wayne.
Thank you.
Sorry, Bay. Mayor Carlos, yes. You had a comment?
Regarding item 8, I just had a comment. I can wait until we go through the motion or make that now.
You want to comment now, Charles?
Is that okay?
Yes, Carlos,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just with respect to item 8, I'm actually supportive of the item, colleagues. I just had mentioned during the technology committee a interest in having another a workshop following up on the February discussion that they had with the public from a number of stakeholders. Just curious if staff that had been scheduled or just the status of that.
We are scheduling that. I'm trying to actually get the exact date, May 13th. So we are moving forward in that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Mayor, thanks for pushing for that. We spoke to Wayne last week and we knew your concern, so I know they're moving on it.
I appreciate that so much.
Thanks, Mayor. Anytime. Before we vote, Bay, did you have a comment?
Just briefly, Mr. Chair. For item number 4, Councilman Nazarian does not have a financial interest, but is identifying for the record that he's a council member for the city of Los Angeles, which is involved in this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Bay. And so we've got a motion by Supervisor Mitchell and a second by Supervisor Hagman to approve. Let's take a vote. Cast your vote, please, and lock it in. Ten ayes. Faye?
Motion passes 10-0, 3 absent, with Supervisor Nguyen and Mayor Olmos recusing from item 2B.
Okay, great. Thank you. And there was an abstention on 13 by Supervisor Nguyen.
Yes. Yes, just if we could just make a note of the 2 recusals, the disclosure and the abstention. Thank you, Faye.
Thank you. And disclosure, Bay was on item 4 with the tugboats, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very
That's
much.
correct.
Great. Now we move to Jason. Good morning. Go ahead, Jason.
Good morning, Chair. Jason Aspel, Deputy Executive Officer with the Engineering and Permitting Division. I'll be presenting a update on our Permitting Enhancement Program, or PEP.
And Jason, I just want to read the first line of that staff report because it's important. It's the staff will present a status update, our work plan, implement the permitting enhancement program in August 2023 as part of Senator Delgado's priorities as chair. He presented a comprehensive work plan. So I want to thank Senator Delgado for really been on his board for so many years. There was years I'd have auto body shops calling me with permits sitting there, you know, Jason, for years. So Chair Emeritus and Senator, thank you for that effort. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you very much, Chair. So this is the 5th update. As you mentioned, it was introduced by former Chair Delgado in April 2023. The objective of reducing the permit backlog, improving permit issuance timelines, and modernizing a very aged permitting system. And staff presented the PEP work plan later that year to establish 5 main PEP objectives. At the start of your term, Chair, you did continue the prioritization of PEP, so thank you. And today's presentation will include the successes in production, next steps for staffing, as well as a status update on our efforts and modernizations. Next slide, please. So here are the 5 main PEP elements. 2 of the 5 elements are related to staffing, which was immediately targeted under PEP and continues to be a success. We also look to modernize our system because our software was built in-house about 20 to 30 years ago, and we are in the process of a full redesign to include modern efficiencies and analytics. So we are increasing our public engagement as well and hosting more permitting-focused public meetings to better communicate permitting requirements with and to hear from industry and the public to help us identify opportunities for improvement. And lastly, in all our functions, we're always looking for increased efficiencies. Next slide, please. Since there are some recent additions to the board, we are providing a little bit more background on permitting and PEP and why these items are being prioritized under PEP. Air District Permitting Authority is established under the Health and Safety Code, and any piece of equipment that emits or controls air pollution does need a permit. So the permit is at the core of the regulatory process. It takes the requirements in our rules and through a engineering evaluation, creates an enforceable document with conditions that inspectors can use, but also facilities to know how to comply with our rules. So the permit evaluation is a pre-construction process. So staff evaluates the rules, conducts emission calculations for the proposed projects, and then tries to balance it with turnaround times so facilities can proceed with construction and operation. So PEP is intended to prioritize the resources and tools so this balance can be achieved. Next slide, please. So this is our annual permitting production chart, and this continues to be a huge success. In the year before PEP, our vacancy rate spiked to over 20% due to retirements, and we lost a lot of experience. We were missing 1 out of every 4 permit processing engineers at that time. In 2023, we started to rebuild the division under PEP, and we have now increased permitting actions by 30%. We still have a lot of catch-up work and improvements to make, but we are headed in the right direction. Our goal is to sustain this production that we've had over the last 2 years while we develop our modernizations in parallel with the help of our IM team. But this 30% increase is really good. Next slide, please. So every quarter, this chart is provided to the stationary source committee for the previous quarter's production, and this dissects the dynamic application inventory. Every month, hundreds of applications come in and hundreds of applications go out. And in the middle there, we do provide a snapshot of all the constantly changing statuses. So the applications that are considered workable are in the dark blue, and they can go from to one of three places from there. If action is needed by a facility, it goes to the red awaiting action. Or on the left, you see the blue arrow. Staff may act and on an application and issue a permit to construct, where it stays in our inventory, but a facility can proceed with construction and operation. Or three, staff may finalize an application and it goes out through the green outgoing applications, such as a final permit to operate. So not included in this chart at the bottom, we do have several automated modules already staff developed for simpler equipment that a facility can log online, enter the information, and register or get a permit instantly. Next slide, please. So here are the numbers for the last 2 quarters. Our permitting actions, meaning the green outgoing apps and the blue permits to construct, were greater than the incoming applications. Also during this time, over 1,000 applications were processed through the automated modules. Trend we have been seeing is a growing number of issued permits to construct in our light purple area there that need to be finalized is 30% of our inventory right now. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later in the slides. Things are looking good. There is good sustained flow here, but there's a couple eddies in the current with some aged applications we have, but we've narrowed it down to 2 industry sectors, which I'm also going to discuss later in the slides as well. Next slide, please. So our staffing has been very strong, continues to be strong under PEP. I stated earlier, we started with a 20 to 25% vacancy rate. We reduced those levels down to 8.5%. However, timing had it that we had a group of retirements in late March that bumped it up to 11.9%. We did anticipate this situation though, and we start hiring interviews next week, next Thursday. So the vacancy rate will be back below 10% very soon. Even with this blip, we do have a very high rate of retention currently in our staffing levels. So with our production gains, we are still having the typical growing pains, but the new staff hired at the beginning of PEP are now approaching the journey level engineer 2 positions. So in the coming years, we're looking for more growth. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we typically define an experienced engineer as having 5 years of air quality permitting experience where they can thrive in any assignment. 10 years ago, half the division's processing engineers were career staff and had over 10 years of experience. Shortly after the 2020 chart in 2022, we bottomed out with our median experience levels less than 2 years of experience. So the good news here is we are on the rebound and we're at the median levels are at 3.5 years and gaining. So like I said, we're looking forward to continued growth in development in the coming years. Next slide, please. So we have resolved many issues so far under PEP. We are continuing to work through some challenges, and 3 challenges we are focusing on are: 1, we still have several aged applications in 2 industries, waste management and the metal finishing sector. The permitting teams in each of these sectors have seen increases in production every year under PEP. So there's progress there, but we're still implementing strategies for these teams. Second, over 20% of the pending applications in the inventory have bypassed the pre-construction review process. These applications usually take more time because they typically proceed without consideration for our air quality rules. As our permitting production has increased and stabilized, we're now pivoting our focus and trying to triage these applications. And we have been seeing an increasing number of permit denials. So we are working closely with our legal and compliance teams. We're also planning for future outreach efforts with our public affairs team on this front. Next, as I said, the largest component of our inventory, excuse me, is permits to construct that have been issued, but the projects have not been fully constructed or operated yet or tested yet. But those facilities are still allowed to operate. Applications for these permits to construct that are issued are 1/3 of our total inventory. So staff continues to have focused initiatives to drive down the inventory of these categories and completed almost 300 focused applications in our last initiative in March. So we are continuing to look at operational efficiencies as well. The big item here is the waste sector. Next slide, please. So we have been seeing the positive results with the staffing additions under PEP, as I said, to the waste management team. Staff has increased their production in this team in 2025 by over 25%, which is commendable, but we are still continuing to see a bottleneck at our higher staff levels. So waste sector growth, new landfill regulations are creating additional workloads, while staff is still working through some significant landfill compliance issues. To help plan and counter these issues, staff will be creating a second waste management team. In the budget package today, we are proposing to convert existing staff positions to 3 senior engineer positions, which are targeted to attack that bottleneck that we've identified. And we expect to fill out the team. Well, the manager for the team was announced this week, and we expect to fill out the rest of the team, seniors, staff level, by the early part of 2027. So we are watching this closely. We are continuing to take actions on this, and we'll continue to keep the board apprised on these efforts. Next slide, please. So we continue to remain engaged and collaborate with industry and the public. And here's a list of some of our efforts in the latter half of 2025. I won't go through all of them, but this month we do have our scientific review committee meeting for BACT, and we are gearing up for our permit streamlining task force in June, in addition to our permitting working group meetings. Next slide, please. So a brief status report on our modernizations for our PEP portal and workflow. IAM is building a modular system that is about 80% done with the initial design, and we still have a significant amount of testing in front of us. We expect to roll this initial part out by the end of the year. For our paperless systems, we expect a limited rollout by third quarter of this year. Do want to point out some of our teams have already developed their own paperless systems, so we're working on our workflows and efficiencies through those systems. The third item is led by our monitoring and analysis team. The source testing portal is in the pilot testing phase with a couple large facilities, and they're collecting feedback, and they expect full rollout by the end of the year on that system. Next slide, please. So I mentioned earlier our legacy systems are about 20 to 30 years old. These efforts are much more long-term, but are in progress. We are just trying to build simple, logical efficiencies at this point. Adding administrative reversal functionality and integrated with finance systems in English we're creating an undo button. Our systems are such that if a mistake is made or an approval needs to be undone, it takes an act of Congress to undo that, may take weeks. So simple functionality like that, that adds time to our process. And last but not least, the IM team is developing an analytical tool to look at the thousands of permit applications, the hundreds of types of equipment, thousands of facilities we have. So we can address our one big challenge, which is to provide a direct apples to apples answer if timelines are getting better. And this is due to the large volume of data I just listed. This wasn't quite ready for the big leads for today's meeting, but we hope to be utilizing it by our next PEP update at the end of the year. Ultimately, we do want to use this for predictive analytics. So someone coming into the system has a good understanding, and we also have a good understanding of how long an average application will take. Next slide, please. So we will have our next update in the fourth quarter, continue to provide our quarterly reports to Stationary Source. In between now and then, we will continue to develop our new software and continue outreach efforts. And we're also working on our certified permitting professional program enhancements. And we'll be bringing that to our permit streamlining task force in the next meeting. And that concludes my report. I can answer any questions you may have.
Great work, Jason. Any questions for staff? Mayor Carlos? Any other colleagues have any questions? Go ahead.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the report. I want to commend staff on the tangible progress that's been made. Would be remiss if also didn't go back to Board Member Delgado for your continued legacy of progress here. So thank you for your leadership then and now. I just wanted to ask about a couple of questions. The baseline with respect to the applications as far as timing, is that a general baseline of 6 months? In the past, we've heard 18 months. Have we reset those baselines as to what a permit timing is an expected goal? And are there different timelines? And just trying to understand that. And then another question would be the backlog that we have, the bottleneck that you had referenced. Can you help unpack that a little bit more so we can appreciate what you mean by a bottleneck and what is the current backlog in general that we're facing? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor. I'll say our goal is always the 6-month mark to act on applications. I'd say in total, if you were to average everything, most things get acted on in 3 months. That does include administrative actions. And I'm sure there'll be a line of facilities that's saying, I'm not getting my permit in 3 months. For our Title V facilities, there are more requirements. EPA's, the federal permitting system does have designed for 18-month windows for very large projects, significant projects. So we are continuing to work on that. Those are the exact questions we're asking this new tool right now to divide that out by industry and application type. In terms of a backlog, and I'll start first with the review, the supervisor review levels. Our average has been driven down to 11% of our applications are at that review stage for the division. Our waste management team is up in the 20% is at that level. And that's typically the back and forth with staff, iterations as we train new staff. So we're looking to spread out, flatten our teams so our supervisors have more time to get to these projects. And so that's where that staff's going to be doing. In terms of number of aged projects we have, I would say those that are awaiting a permit to construct make up 5% of our inventory that are aged. And when I say aged, I mean that are greater than 2 years. So this moves around. So we're trying to attack that. So you're in the 1 to 200 application range with that.
So
we do have
5% of the applications are at 2 years.
2 years or greater. Okay. Yes.
I felt like I was interrupting you there.
I think that was my answer. There are other aged applications in the inventory, but typically the facilities that are waiting for their permit to construct, it is this 5%. The other like permits to construct we've already issued, that are aged, that are over the 2 years, those are 10% of our inventory. But we've done our part and now we're waiting for the facility to build and test that equipment.
So there's a reference to an additional number of permits, about 500 additional permit goal that's referenced in the budget item. So can you help put some context to how those 500 additional permits per year goal, how does that tie into how much of the backlog would we be making progress on?
So
if we're going to be processing 500 more as a goal, how much of progress will we be making on the overall backlog? I just want to get some context there of how much progress we'd be making.
Yeah, the 500 was our past goal. We're looking to maintain at those levels now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is this balance right now.
So same question then.
Yeah.
How do you juxtapose that additional amount of permitting with the total amount of backlog, so I can get a sense of the dent that we're making or the progress we're making in the overall?
Well, I'll say, could you bring up the slide 5, I believe?
And if those,
Yeah.
if this information isn't readily available, it's not meant to give you a pop quiz here. I think just generally speaking, if we could have that type of information, even sharing verbally, maybe in a slide, that would be helpful in the future. Just again, we can have a greater appreciation for the magnitude of the progress we're making. But go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. I would say definitely we added 10 positions. I would say the improvements over the last 2 years would have been a lot more shallow, probably more in the 6,000 range, had we not had those 10 positions. So I would say for the waste management team with the 3, and these are existing positions that we're just converting, we've increased 27% over the last 2 years. I would expect that to go into the 30% range for just their general production. But we will have it really depends on the nature of the aged application. Some of these we just can't move forward on. And as I said, we are denying some.
I'll conclude by saying, again, I appreciate the tremendous progress. 30% is more than noteworthy. So thank you for that. Maybe offline, there could be some information that's shared with respect to how many permits across the board are beyond the 6-month and how many that are Title 5 or beyond the goal threshold of 18 months, just so we can get a sense of those that aren't that have been extended beyond that. And just for the context, a bit would appreciate that, and then that could be incorporated into the future presentations.
So
thank you so much.
Actually,
So Mayor, maybe I can just interject.
Okay.
I think I understand what you're asking for. And what we can do is we can provide the breakdown by class type, and then look at the rate, and then look at the impact on some of the other issues. If you have it readily available.
So I will say we can get it to you. We presented this to our last permit streamlining task force in December with the full breakdown in age categories. So we'll provide that.
It's great to hear that you still have a task force and are soliciting input from those that are going through the permit process. Is that really the sense of that working group, those that are in the midst of this permitting process, you're soliciting their input?
Yes, it's actually been very good. We've had more of a discussion rather than just dumping statistics on the task force. And it's been very fruitful discussions, guiding some of our actions, especially in terms of the Certified Permitting Professional Program.
I appreciate that engagement. And Wayne, thanks for the forthcoming information.
Yes, and I think we're actually going to hear from some of the members shortly on public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And finally, Supervisor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The mayor asked some of my questions, but I just have a few to ask, to clarify. What percentage or numbers of permits are for Title 5 or 10 facilities? 5? And how long do they usually take on average? And here's why I'm asking that, because the County of Orange has permits or application in since 2020 on these. And we haven't even received a draft permit at all. We've got 60 permits currently, and that's just one department. 60 permits, and 17 permits of them have been 4 years old, or over 4 years old. And so that's 28% of our permit applications. And so I guess is to that also, is there a plan to prioritize or expedite longstanding permits?
Yes, absolutely. We do have a backup slide that shows the full breakdown and application type. I'm not going to get into all of this, but on the right is our Title V universe. It's far less. We also have a lot more requirements on those. On the left are our minor source. So if you look at the, I guess, darker yellow at the top on the Title V side, that's 511. Those are awaiting permits to construct in that system. I don't have the age portion of that available. In regards to County of Orange, OCWR, we do meet with them on a quarterly basis, and they do always provide us their priorities. So the 2020 applications are not at the top of the priority. We're currently working on 2024 applications right now, per their direction. But we do have 67 applications in for OCWR. A brief estimate of what we expect just through our normal process, probably 11 applications to be submitted to EPA for review and done in Q2. We expect another 18, that's 40% of the total, to be done once the composting issue goes through. That will be Q3. And then by the end of the year, we expect 60% of these to go through. We do have a schedule for 2027, but I think at that point, we'll probably reassess as far as what OCWR's priorities are at that point. But we do work with entities, and a lot of times their priorities shift in regards to their applications. And that is one of the 2020 applications was deprioritized from OCWR. And I also maintain contact with the director and the environmental manager constantly.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you have, actually your data is more updated than mine. I only have 60 permits, but no, and I appreciate that. We just, because it's actually become a priority of our chairman of our board, because he constantly asks about this every month. And so, my role is to making sure that I also bring this to AQMD and to alert you. And just food for thought is, my understanding is in our engineering division, we have 175 staff. If there's a possibility to even consider doing 3 permits per staff per month, that could really move the needle quite a bit. And and maybe there's a difference between, if there's any such thing as easier or faster processing, maybe have set some staff aside just to work on those so they can just move out, even though they just came in yesterday. We just keep on constantly moving these permits out, I think would go a long way for all the counties, and not just for counties government, but businesses and everybody else. If there's a way to kind of move it, easier ones, move them out faster, and have other staff who works on the longer processing permits instead. So just food for thought.
Thank you for the suggestion. We did have a special projects team at the outset of PEP. We've actually absorbed that into a high production team with the same intent. But yeah, this is always trying to move around work, move positions to address the bottlenecks. But thank you very much.
Yeah, no, because I did that 20 plus years ago when I was on the city council. We had residents who had like just patio permitting with the city that's been sitting there for 8 months, almost a year, while we have bigger projects that's sitting there because they've been there for a couple of years. And so I suggested us having a group of staff just to look at these smaller projects for residential and continue to move those faster. We went from 8 months to 3 months timeframe for those permits. And so just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Jason. Thank you. Any more questions for Jason or comments? We do have some public comment. And would like, board's prerogative, since it's getting late, I'd like to reduce the public comment period to 90 seconds, if that's okay. No objection, 90 seconds for public comment. Larry, you go first, in person.
In person, we have Bill Pierce.
If you want to comment on this item, please raise your hand. I'll be cutting off public comment soon on this item. So go ahead.
Good, Bill.
Oh, good morning, Chair, board members. I have to rethink my comments now. I just wanted to comment with respect to Jason Aspel and his teams and the various components that go into all the permitting applications. We have seen over the past year significant improvement in our permitting, and it's a learning experience for both sides. For Boeing, who's used to having over the years very senior engineers working on our permits and turning them quickly. Now we're working with newer engineers and trying to work with them and partly getting them even up to speed on some requirements. And so it's just, we've seen the improvements over the past year, and we're hoping that that will continue to grow and improve. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill, for your comments. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Vice Chair. We've got 4 commenters. And after Steve Jepson, we'll close public comment on this item. So Steve, you're the first one. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair Cacchiotti, board, and South Coast staff. This is Steve Jepson with Clean Water SoCal. We represent 80 public water wastewater agencies in Southern California. Many of these agencies are in the South Coast AQMD area. Definitely want to thank Board Member Delgado for initiating this PEP program, and thank you to the board for your interest in streamlining permits. Long permit timelines continue to be an issue for the water wastewater sector. However, we appreciate the recognition of this and the announcement that improvements are going to be made for the waste sector permit team, and we look forward to those improvements. And definitely want to express support and appreciation for all of Jason Aspel's work on this. He's taking this seriously, and we appreciate it, and we're really looking forward to streamlined permits in the future. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thanks, Steve. Next is Bill Quinn.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Bill Quinn with SEEB again, and also a member of the Permit Streamlining Task Force. Permitting is a very important issue for our members. I also would like to express my appreciation to you, Mr. Chair, for continuing with the PEP program started by Senator Delgado. We are pleased that staffing levels are improving. Jason and Jillian always make themselves available, and that's really nice. We appreciate the progress to date, and we're looking forward to even greater improvements. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill, for your comments. Next is Allison Torres.
Good morning, Chair Cacchiotti and board members. My name is Allison Torres with Eastern Municipal Water District, and also speaking as the chair of the Air Committee for Clean Water SoCal. I want to take this opportunity to recognize all the work by staff on PEP. We really appreciate all these efforts, but we also especially appreciate the recognition that issues still exist with processing applications for the water and wastewater sector. The long permit timelines for our sector do remain challenging. Sometimes they are over 2 years, and this does stress the construction timelines for our public projects and adds a layer of uncertainty for advancing these projects. So we strongly support the focus on streamlining for our sector and focusing on bottlenecks. We look forward to continuing to work with staff, and we'll continue to engage in the permit streamlining task force meetings and with Jason and his team as there's a more focused effort on our sector. We appreciate the board's support for this initiative and the focus on continued progress. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Allison. And finally, final speaker in this item, we've cut off public comment now, is Harvey Etter. Harvey, go ahead, please. Got a minute and a half.
Hello, am I being heard? Yes.
Yes, you are, Harvey. Welcome again.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. On protest pending time, you guys could put in more time and have longer meetings here in the public. Okay, this is opportunity. We've been talking 10 years, Office of Planning and Research, Strategic Growth Council. There's a need for a solar element to all plans, solar conversion element. Okay, and it has to be integrated with the permitting process. Here's an excellent opportunity, especially we had experienced 10 years ago, only 2-3 years now, to educate how to do these and use decentralized solar, thermal, and PV integrated T&D and deal with this IA stuff. We saw how it shot down 11/11/11/21, etc. And it's really bad karma, bad stuff. Could defeat the elections, and the Republicans on it have to speak against the false accusation of
Thank you,
stealing
Mr. Eder, but
the 2020
move on this
election.
item. Thank you.
Harvey, thank you. Vice Chair, want to make a comment?
Yes, thank you very much. Jason, fantastic work. Keep it up. Appreciate all that you do. I would ask that the monthly report that comes to the stationary source, that you would include some of the items that Carlos requested. I think that would be very helpful to have that information in that monthly report.
Will do. Thank you very much, Vice Chair.
Bay, this is just a presentation, receive and file.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Wayne, did you want to make any comments or?
We do need to make a disclosure on item number 30 before we begin. So if
Okay.
we're done with the presentation,
Jason, thank you so much, and your team from the whole board. Thanks a lot. Go ahead, Wayne.
thank you, John.
I'm behind. Good morning. Just real, sorry. Just real quick, in accordance with the Brown Act, the budget item agenda does have a item that impacts executive compensation. This proposal includes approval of an adjustment to the executive management salary schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Sujata?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members of the board. Sujata Jain, Chief Financial Officer. So this, next slide, please. So this item has three parts. First is executive officers' proposed goals and priority objectives. Then I'll go over the general fund budget for fiscal year 26-27. And then finally, we have proposed amendments to Reg 3 fees. Next slide, please. So our goals and objectives start with our mission statement, and we have 3 goals and 21 priority objectives. So the mission statement, next slide, please, is to clean the air and protect the health of all residents in South Coast Air District through practical and innovative strategies. Next slide, please. So our 3 goals are achieve clean air standards, enhance public education, and ensure equitable treatment of all communities. And third is to operate efficiently and transparently. Next slide, please. So our first goal has 9 priority objectives. The first is to address air quality through development and implementation of air quality management plans and toxic rules. And the performance measurement here are complete 6 rule adoptions and/or actions that result in achievement towards 2016-2022 AQMPs and 2024 PM plan emission reductions and air toxics impacts. 2 is to ensure incentive funding for emission reduction, and the performance measurement here is to maintain funding received on or before fiscal year 26-27. Next slide, please. Number 3 is implementation of community emission reduction plans, CERPs, for Assembly Bill AB 617, designated communities, and work plans for consistently nominated communities. So this has about 6 subparts in performance measurements. So I'll talk about the 4 that are for designated communities that are actively implementing CERPs. So the first is 4 community steering committee meetings. Next is report progress and percentage of completion of CERP actions. Third is to complete release for CSC and public comments and submit to CARB annual progress reports. And the 4th here is update the CERP implementation dashboards quarterly. And the other 2 are for, one is community outreach relation and engagement event for designated communities. And the last is 4 community outreach, relation, and engagement events for consistently nominated communities. Next slide, please. So the 4th is to ensure efficient air monitoring and laboratory operations. And here the performance measurement is to achieve acceptable valid data completions submitted to US EPA before deadline. 5 is to ensure timely inspections of facilities. And here also, the main goal is to complete 100% of Title V inspections. So in the first and second quarter, a lot of time is spent on reviewing the data and conducting desk reviews. In the third and fourth quarter, the Title V inspections are completed. Number 6 here is implementation of the PEP, which you just heard the presentation on. And the performance measurement here is to provide semi-annual updates to the board on key elements of PEP that include but are not limited to reduction in the permit backlog and permitting production rates, development of new paperless online permitting system, and enhancement of the Certified Permitting Professional Program, which is CPP. Next slide, please. Number 7 is to support development of cleaner advanced technology, and the performance measurement is to fund 10 million of clean technology projects. Number 8 is incentive programs, and the performance measurement is to initiate implementation within 6 months of grant award. And number 9 is to conduct the MATE 6 study, and this also has sort of 4 subparts of performance measurement. First is to complete monitoring of air toxics and other pollutants at 10 fixed sites of MATE 6. The next is to continue to evaluate background ethylene oxide levels. Third is to develop public outreach plans and release MATES data. And lastly, to present updates to Mobile Source Committee. Next slide, please. So our next goal is to enhance public education and equitable treatment of all communities. This has 6 priority objectives. The first is the evaluation of low-cost air quality sensors. And the performance measurement is to evaluate and post results of 75% of sensors that have reached the market. Number 2 is outreach. And this has sort of 2 subparts: conduct and participate in 4 community outreach events, including 1 in each county, and to conduct 6 in-person community engagement events such that critical community conversations for purposeful outreach, 3PO, and listening sessions are done. Third is timely investigation of community complaints, and the performance measurement is to contact 100% of complainants by the close of business on the next business day. Number 4 is social media efforts, and here the performance measurement is to continue efforts to increase impressions and engagements on posts and/or campaigns with a monthly average of 4,000 LinkedIn impressions, 2,400 Instagram impressions, 8,000 Facebook impressions, and 48,000 X impressions on post. Number 5 is school education outreach. And over here, the goal is, the performance measurement is to conduct outreach to 100 K-12 schools, youth groups, and/or other organizations in all 4 counties, and to provide WHAM and CAPES curriculum. WHAM stands for Why Healthy Air Matters. CAPES stands for Clean Air Programs for Elementary Students. And then also to host 1 Earth Day webinar for elementary schools and 1 for middle and high schools, and that feature WHAMs and CAPES curriculum. Number 6 is interagency coordination, and the performance measurement here is to conduct and participate in at least 1 interagency coordination meeting per quarter, continue efforts to improve information sharing and conduct joint investigations with other government agencies, as well as streamline referral procedures. Number 3, this is goal 3, and that is to operate efficiently and transparently. So this also has 6 priority objectives. The first 2 are to ensure transparent governance, and the first is to provide 100% of committee and board meeting agendas with material made available to the public 1 week prior to the meeting. The next one is also to provide 100% of stakeholder and work group meeting agendas with materials made available to the public 3 days prior to the meeting. Number 3 is partner with stakeholder groups and business communities. And the priority objective here is to conduct 6 total public meetings with permit streamlining task force subcommittees and/or permitting stakeholders. Next slide. Number 4 is timely financial monitoring. And the performance measurement here is to submit quarterly budgetary reports and financial reports to the governing board within 6 working days of the end of the quarter for quarters 1 and 3, and to submit for the 4th quarter report within 6 working days of end of July. Number 5 is to facilitate ongoing engagements with employee resource groups, and the performance measurement here is to facilitate monthly ERG meetings for internal staff. And lastly, on staffing, the performance measurement is to initiate and recruit the recruiting process such that all positions, if they were filled, the vacancy rate would be 13%, which is our budgeted vacancy. Next slide. So this is an update that was requested at our governing board workshop. And so on this slide, we were asked about the status of updates on our goals and objectives. And staff is currently going to provide to the admin committee with a quarterly update on the goals and priority objectives. We already do that for the budget update. So we will be including goals and priority objectives on a quarterly basis to the admin committee as well. And our goals and priority objectives are also posted on our website, and there is a link to that. So board members can always go there and take a look at it. Next slide, please. So this is our general fund budget summary. And just going back, we are still in fiscal year 25-26. So our adopted budget was $215.4 million for revenue. And there were some amendments. We estimate to end the year with about $218.2 million in revenues. And our fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget has revenues at $223.9 million. On the cost side, our 25-26 budget was $219.6 million. And there have also been some amendments. And we estimate to end the year with revenues coming in at $220.5 million. Our fiscal year 26-27 proposed expenses are $225.2 million. So we are using about $1.3 million of reserves. Next slide, please. So this slide is showing that for fiscal year 25-26, our authorized positions were 1,034. We have a budgeted vacancy of 13%, so we can fill about 900 positions. The chart shows budgeted FTEs by department and also vacancies by department. So our current overall vacancy is about 15.2%. It's slightly higher than our 13%. It's because of the recent retirements that happened in March. It will jump back to about 13%. It'll drop to 13%. So next slide. This is the proposed staffing changes. And it's a little bit detailed slide, so I'll break it down. I'll go over the adds and the deletes. The net result is deleting 4 positions. So our budgeted position for fiscal year 26-27 will be 1,030. But on the add side, we are adding 2 positions in our planning, rules, development, and implementation department. One is a program supervisor, and one is an air quality specialist. In our IM department, we are adding one IT specialist too. In our legislative, public affairs, and media, we are adding 1 public affairs manager. In our monitoring we are adding 4 positions: 1 program supervisor, 1 air quality specialist, and 2 air quality engineers. In our engineering and permitting department, we are adding 5 positions: 3 senior air quality engineers and 2 staff assistants. That's what Jason talked about. It's just to get operational efficiency. On the delete side, We're deleting one senior office assistant in the clerk of the board. We're deleting in our legislative, public affairs, and media one office assistant. In our monitoring and analysis division, we are deleting 9 positions, one administrative assistant, one senior air quality instrument specialist, and 7 air quality instrument specialists, 1 positions. In our engineering and permitting, we are deleting 3 senior office assistants, 1 senior staff specialist, and 2 air quality specialists. Next slide, please. So this is our estimate of our 5-year projection. So the assumptions over here are that we have a 13% vacancy rate ongoing in these 5 years. CPI for fiscal year 26-27 came at 3.2%. In our out years, we are projecting CPI coming in at 3.3 to 3.2% as well. The board's policy is to keep our reserves at 20% or above, and we are going to be at that at least in the next 4 years. We dip a little bit below that in the 5th year, but our projections are very conservative. We have seen that when we reach that 5th year, it is above the amount that we are projecting right now. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions, or actually, I'll move it to our Assistant Deputy Executive Officer, Mike Kraus, for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you, Sujata. Mike, go ahead, please. And Mike, you can kind of overview as you're going through, if you can.
Great, no problem. All right. So along with the budget, we have to we also work on our changes to our regulation to our regulation 3. So regulation 3 involves all of our fees, and there are various different rules in there. There's over a dozen of these different types of rules that focus on specific fees. So how much fees you would make to submit a permit, how much you have to pay to go to the hearing board, or submit a plan for plan evaluation, et cetera. We'll be addressing 14 of those rules today. First off, with the major rule is 320. This is our automatic fee adjustment for CPI, or Consumer Price Index, which was adjusted to 3.2% this past year. So that's automatic via the 320 rule, and it will bring in approximately, and that's again across those different rules that I mentioned, 3.8 million. In addition, what we do as a regular sort of exercise is look at all of our various fee rules and try to see areas where we feel that there needs to be some primarily cost recovery, some extra work that's being performed by staff on various divisions, and how that's being addressed. We also look at different types of applications that may not have actually had a specific, what they call a fee schedule, which is basically how much it would take to process that fee. And that's happened with laser cutters. But these other proposals that you see here in our rule amendments are ones, again, that are sort of looking at, how much the staff is spending time, if work is actually being done, and ensuring that that recovery is occurring. Next slide, please. We have 2 remaining issues I wanted to highlight. For the first one, it's one of our actions is to remove a source test fee cap. So currently we have that embedded in the rule. It's been there for a little while now, but we've noticed over the years that source testing and the work that needs to be done in source testing is becoming a lot more complex, both on the participants level as well as our evaluation level here at the agency. So we're removing that cap. But in the process of doing so, it was raised in recent meetings from stakeholders about how that work is being done in the source testing division with regards to staffing, the evaluation, the time it takes. We recognize that a lot of our rules do require folks to do source testing, so we do know it's an important element, and we do want to make sure it's properly staffed. So in this current budget, we actually, as Sujata just noted, 2 full-time positions in our source testing division. But in addition to that, I just wanted to highlight that our source testing group is kicking off and launching a portal that's going to be able to track some of this data on both sides that everyone can kind of see and show that progress moving along. And in addition, that group will be going back to our future stationary source committee to discuss more specific things, such as, do we have a backlog? What is that backlog? How is our staffing levels and our throughput expectations? Next slide, please. The other issue I wanted to raise is deal with our annual emissions inventory, annual emissions reporting, AER, and the due date. To give you by way of background, the rule had established for a long time standing that folks would submit their annual emissions report, how much they're emitting, along with a payment for those emissions. It's sort of an incentive to sort of drive down those emissions. If facilities drive down the emissions, they pay less money. So it's a good thing in that sense, but we gave them a certain time frame, 75 days from the beginning of the year, which technically is about March 17th. However, recently CARB has had their CTR, or their criteria and toxics reporting requirements that are embedded in this. And so for the last 3 years, in order to recognize the little bit of the extra work that needs to be done and evaluation that needs to be done, we gave facilities an additional time to adjust to those new requirements under the CTR program. So the past 3 years, we extended that deadline to May 1st, but that's now all done. All those facilities are now in the program and are familiar with all of that data entry, et cetera. And so we went back to look at the due dates. Stakeholders did ask about, can you kind of push that further than March 7th? And we proposed an April 1st date. However, stakeholders are asking again about, can you make the May 1st a permanent date? And this is challenging for us because this date isn't just like a date someone submits. It's actually your data. You're submitting your data, which affects our budget, which what we're bringing here today. It also affects the revenue income stream. So it is really an important date. However, we want to be compromisable. So we've agreed to go and extend that even further then from the March 17th to April 10th. We think this is a good compromise, again, because by keeping it that May is really limiting for our staff to be able to do what they do. In addition, I want to remind folks that stakeholders also have an option of what's called an abbreviated report. So this is a more streamlined report for them. So they can then, hopefully then meet that date better. Okay, next slide, please. So with regards to the fee impacts, you can see here listed out here. Just want to note that the negative there for the laser cutters is because they're actually paying a lower annual operating fee, but overall bringing in about $340,000 with those adjustments that I just presented. Next slide, please. Just a few other things that are happening in some of our rule amendments that are more administrative in nature, such as clarifying deadlines or what's expected of folks. Doesn't change really what was already required of them, just kind of clarifying and creating more specific language. Next slide, please. And then finally, our recommended actions is to determine that these actions that we're taking here on the budget and fees are exempt from CEQA, to amend those rules in our Reg 3, to adopt our goals and priority objectives, and to adopt the upcoming year's budget. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Mike. Board members, any questions for staff? Brief? I see none. There's some public comment. Again, with board's prerogative, I'd like to reduce the public comment to 1 minute. I don't want to lose any board members. So see no objection. Larry, nobody in-house? I'll start with Steve Jepson online. You've got 1 minute, Steve. Welcome back.
Good morning, Chair Cacchiotti, board members, and South Coast staff. This is Steve Jepson with Clean Water SoCal. Our members are greatly impacted by reporting deadlines during the first quarter of each year, from South Coast, AQMD, CARB, as well as many other regulatory agencies. In addition, members are impacted by increased annual reporting under Criteria and Toxics Emissions Reporting, or CTR. We appreciate the proposed extension from April 1 to April 10. This helps. But agencies are experiencing dramatic increases in reports due. A twofold or more increase is common. We hoped the May 1st deadline would remain, recognizing that financing staff needs knowledge for revenue to create the budget. We request your consideration that a later deadline for abbreviated reporting is appropriate. Abbreviated reporting does not generate fees, so the budget would not be affected. Perhaps May 1st is appropriate for abbreviated.
Steph, want to address that at all?
Sure, just real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. You're okay. Yeah, so real quick, abbreviated reports are just that. They're more simpler in nature. So for us to feel that there's an extension on that doesn't seem to make much sense. They do pay fees, so that is not really a correct statement. However, one should keep in mind that with the abbreviated statement, you already know your fees up front. So again, and it's very basic data entry, et cetera. So we still support, keeping the deadlines as are.
April 10th, right, Mike? Is that correct? Okay. Next speaker is Allison Torres.
Good morning, Chair Caccioti, fellow board members and staff. My name is Allison Torres. I work with Eastern Municipal Water District. We're a water, wastewater, and recycled water provider in Southwest Riverside County, serving approximately 1 million people. We operate various facilities, including water and wastewater treatment, water booster stations, and lift stations. The number of facilities that we're required to provide just abbreviated reporting for on an annual basis is increasing drastically, over 75 just with abbreviated reporting. We understand that abbreviated reporting might appear simpler, but it is very time consuming to report over 100 facilities when you include abbreviated and non-abbreviated CTR facilities. The May 1st deadline has been acceptable for CTR facilities for the last few years, so we would urge the board to consider a separate deadline for abbreviated reported sites. Abbreviated reported sites don't pay during the annual emission reporting submittal. They are typically receive a flat fee that are invoiced at various times during the year. EMWD is a member of Clean Water SoCal, and we support their comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Curtis Coleman?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kurt Coleman again, Executive Director of the Southern California Air Quality Alliance. As Michael Kraus noted, I raised concerns during the Budget Advisory Committee meeting, Administrative Committee meeting, and Board Budget Workshop regarding SEMS evaluations, source test evaluations, lab testing lab certifications, and their impacts on permit processing. These activities are all done by the Monitoring and Analysis Division at the district. I had requested that staff provide a report to the Stationary Source Committee in the near future with that information included. And I was very pleased that the staff agreed that this information could be provided. We look forward to working with the staff to assure that the activities of the Monitoring and Analysis Division can be performed in a timely and efficient manner, and whether the district's goals and priorities should include additional priorities for that division. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Next is Bill Quinn. Welcome back, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Bill Quinn, and I am again with SEEB. I also serve as a member of the Budget Advisory Committee. So we support the budget and fee proposal as presented by staff today. As part of the proposal, there are significant emission reporting requirements, Mike mentioned, stemming from changes at the California Air Resources Board. For this proposal, we had asked for the annual reporting deadline to be extended from April 1st to May 1st. I understand that such a change presents challenges for your financial staff in developing the budget. So in response, as you've seen or heard, staff has offered a compromise of April 10th. We appreciate this thoughtful accommodation and are pleased to support the additional 10 days. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. Cindy Parsons is next. Welcome, Cindy.
Good morning. My name's Cindy Parsons. I'm with Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. My comment is focused on the due date for the annual emission reports. Starting next year, the number of reports LEDWP is required to prepare and submit will increase to 74 because of the CTR. At the public consultation meeting, LEDWP asked if AQMD could extend the annual emission report due date to May 1st permanently, and if that was not possible, to allow more time to pay the emission fees for those of us who pay by check. We'd like to thank staff for considering our request and for changing the proposed due date from April 1st to April 10th as a compromise. We would still like to ask that AQMD consider allowing some flexibility, such as a grace period for the first year or two of having to submit all the CTR reports, to allow reporters time to dial in our process for collecting data, preparing and submitting the reports, and paying the fees. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Cindy. Wayne or Mike, did you want to address that? Any comments to that from LADWP?
The district has, in fact, over the last, I want to say 2 to 3 years, provided that accommodation. It was with the intent that after everybody was used to it, that we would go back to the original date, which I think was actually in March 17th. So you can see where the original date that finance had wanted to keep it limited at was April 1. They were asked for May 1. I split the baby the best that I could, trying to keep everybody happy. And that's the feedback that I've gotten from our finance staff, that in order to do the budgets, that's the absolute latest that we can stretch it.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
Mhm.
And our final speaker for public comment on this item is Harvey Etter. Harvey, welcome again. You're muted, Harvey.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, you are.
Okay. The goals and objectives, health and safety of our community should include to get equity, and this is extremely important. 60% of the people and higher in our area live paycheck to paycheck. 2/3 have seen no increase in income or equity in the last 40, 50 years. Thomas Piketty, French economist, 2024, Capital in the 21st Century, in 2020, Capital and Ideology. Okay. And that productivity is doubled. It's only gone to the few percent, 1%, 1/10, 1/100th of 1%. Okay, and AI is making things worse, incorporating by reference comments made in the proposal by Bernie and AOC to regulate this. And what's his name? John Stewart had 2 MIT, won a Nobel in economics. That all the information by AOC should be copyrighted and they should pay for it. They're ripping people off and they lie like hell. I was at a meeting of
Thank you, Harvey. That's your final speaker. And Mike, can you put up the final slide, your recommendations, if that's possible, on this item, item number 30?
Caesar will do that for
Caesar,
us.
thank you, Caesar.
One moment, please.
Thanks. Well, we're getting that. Board Member Padilla Campos, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I just had a clarification question. I heard right now that the source testing requires the new portal. Jason also mentioned some sort of permitting portal or tracking system. And then in our committee meetings, I also heard that there's a grant management system that's going to be developed for the warehouse tracking. So these are all new systems that are being created, which is awesome. But just wondering if this is all sort of a one-time creation, or are we using different outside sources, or is it being done all in-house? I'm just curious.
It's a variety, but it's all that's already been paid for through the mitigation fee. The portal for source testing is something that is pretty much developed. We're just in the testing phase of it now. And I can't remember the third one, but I think it was another grant
think
management system.
Jason mentioned something for permitting, sort of for efficiency also.
Right, and that mostly is already into the budget, but we may come back to the board for additional funds for that.
So, but is it being developed internally, or are we
Yes.
hiring? Oh, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member. Any more questions or comments? If you can put that item up the last slide again, and this, so there's 4 parts, 4 bullet points for this recommended action. Determine proposed amended to Regulation 3 are exempt. Approve the amendments to Regulation 3. Adopt EO's fiscal year 26-27 proposed goals, priority objectives. Finally, adopt the fiscal year 26-27 draft budget. Is there a motion? Oh, sorry, Carlos. Mayor, do you want to speak first?
Yeah, it's just a clarification on the first part of the presentation, the outline of goals. Just get clarification, where would the cooperative agreement and some of the comments regarding the CAPS Plus fall within the spectrum of goals that were highlighted? I'm just curious as to what we see on the horizon on that issue. Will we be, as I was talking about goals here for a moment, where would we be anticipating an update on how things are progressing there? The CAPS Plus comment that was made today, and well, just generally speaking, colleagues, I would hope that we'd be getting a extensive update on the overall progress when we have our retreat, if not earlier. So that's just a general comment. And then the other point I'd like to make is just understanding where in these actions here, there's room to address the concerns by Clean Water SoCal, EMWD, today as far as their requests and how we could respond to that as a governing board today to make sure that we're being mindful of the constraints and challenges that they're highlighting.
Let me take a crack at that with regards to the reporting. The items that you asked specifically with regards to the cooperative agreement would be included under goal number 1. And we can provide information. I mean, we do provide information to the committee on the progress, so we can provide additional information when we do have the quarterly goals that would address that. But the bulk of the information would go to the committee where that is overseen. So for instance, cooperative agreement would be stationary source committee. I'm sorry, mobile source committee, mobile source. Yeah. And then with regards to the request, you did hear that the request was of May 1. You heard that our original submittal date was March 17th, I believe. We accommodated for a 2-3-year period to have people get used to the work that was gone into it. Staff, due to its budgeting preparations in terms of preparing the budget, wanted to keep the submittal date at April 1. In my review, I tried to find out how long we could push that out and still get the information in time so that we could do the budget on a timely manner. And I determined based on the input that April 10th. And so we are compromising to April 10th. That's the recommendation to the board with regards to the submittal date. I feel that there was a request for a few years more extension to get used to it. We've already provided that. So that's where we are with regards to that issue.
The compromise, meaning
April 10th
they're
versus.
requesting May 1st?
You heard some of them request May 1. You heard some of them supportive and appreciative of the April 10th extension based on the April 1.
The Clean Water SoCal, I thought they were
They
saying-
requested May 1.
Okay, so is that not feasible for you all based on, wasn't that the case last year?
We did it in order
Accommodating
to
May 1st last year?
accommodate
Yes.
what it would take to get used to it. But the intent all along, and the challenge has been the burden that it puts on our finance team to put the budgets together. So they've been under the burden for the last few years, but we've done that to let everybody get used to the reporting date. So I'm trying to make sure that we have the information in a manner such that we can actually prepare the budget, get it adopted on time so that we can continue to move forward. I think you've heard a few of the organizations, agencies request a longer time. You've heard a few say that they appreciate the extension. I believe we've tried to accommodate as best as we could.
Okay. I don't think they would be commenting if they didn't feel compelled based on their concerns. I appreciate the fact that you guys have been working to be accommodating in the past. So I guess the burden's going to have to fall somewhere. It'd be great if we could not have, as we've done it before, to try to do it one more year, but I'm just one voice here. So I'm certainly not going to adjust my overall support because of that, but I am noting their concern. And if you're not able to accommodate them based on your recommendation, it's duly noted. As for the goals, again, should we be anticipating on our retreat that we'd get a overview
Yes.
of the cooperative agreement, status, progress?
We're actually working on the agenda, but we can certainly include that.
And I would urge
part
that in
of-
light of it being a tier 1 and all the time that we spent on that and the magnitude and historic nature of that. Also would ask that we consider bringing the utilities in to discuss any forecasts on capacity as related to the issues related to the cooperative agreement. So it's just a respectful request for consideration.
We
Thank
can
you.
certainly look at that. I believe we actually had the utilities at the last one. So we'll see what we can do.
Well,
as far as
you
getting
know,
them
we
again.
didn't have a historic agreement in place at that time, so it'd be great to hear their perspective a year in. Thank you.
We'll do our best.
Thanks, Mayor. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move all four of the recommendations.
Moved by Mayor McCallum, second by Supervisor Mitchell. Roll call, or I'm sorry, let's vote. Cast your vote and lock it in, please.
Motion passes 9-0, 4 absent.
Thank you, Faye. Next item is item 32 on the agenda, annual report. South Coast AQMD vacancies, recruitment and retention. John Olvera again. Thanks, John.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. John Olvera, Deputy Executive Officer of Administrative and Human Resources. This item is to conduct a public hearing and present to the board the annual report on South Coast AQMD's vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts for calendar year 2025. State law requires that this information is presented at a public hearing at least once per fiscal year. It also allows for the agency recognized unions to make a presentation, and they're here today, and they'll be part of the presentation. Next slide. As you can see, the district's overall vacancy rate at the end of 2025 was 14.2%. That's compared to the budgeted vacancy rate of 13%. Next slide. We also have information about vacancy rates by bargaining group. And so as a reminder, we have two unions, the Professional Employees Association, which represents 20 classifications and includes engineers and chemists. Also, we have Teamsters 986, which represents the Office Clerical and Maintenance Group and the Technical Enforcement Group, with a total of 71 classifications, and that includes our clerical staff and our inspectors. And then we have unrepresented units for managers, confidential, and executive staff. Next slide. And that is the vacancy rate per bargaining group for the end of 2025. Next slide. For the year, we completed 38 new hires, and we had 55 promotions. Next slide. In terms of retention, 28 employees left due to retirement, 11 were by voluntary separation, and 3 were for other reasons. Next slide. And as part of the process, we review all of the information, and based on it for the year, staff did not identify any potential obstacles on these matters, and we're not proposing any policy or procedure changes. After the public hearing, the board will be asked to receive and file the 2025 report. Happy to answer any questions, or the Teamsters, I believe, is the next speaker.
Great. Board members, any questions for John? See none? How many speakers do we have?
Oh, no.
Just one. Is 3 minutes enough?
No, I was told I had 5.
Okay, we'll give you 5 minutes.
That's
For
awesome,
just one
'cause I
speaker,
already
right?
cut my speech down to 5.
Thank you. Go ahead. Welcome.
Good morning, board. I'm Jennifer Nestler. I'm the chief steward of the Teamsters 986. 1 year ago, I stood before the board to raise concerns about the classification and reporting of Teamster employees. At that time, we began a collaborative effort with human resources and a shared goal, meaningful, lasting improvement. Today, I'm here to provide an update, what has progressed, and where work remains. Teamster employees continue to carry the significant share of the agency's workload. Vacancy rates remain high, 17.41% in technical and enforcement and 18.13% in OCM. While these numbers fall below the 20% benchmark required in AB 2561, they don't fully reflect the reality. Teamster represent over 1/3 of the workforce. More than 440 budgeted positions, currently only 344 of those positions are filled. These are not peripheral roles. They are essential to daily operations. Under AB 2561, there is a shared responsibility to engage in good faith on wages, hours, and working conditions. That includes ensuring classifications accurately reflect the work being done. Right now, many classifications remain outdated, some unchanged since 2008, and even going back to 1998. As a result, reported data does not fully capture current conditions and can present a more stable picture than employees are experiencing. Over the past year, Teamsters and Human Resources made real progress through a collaborative approach. We prioritized some of the most outdated classifications, including fiscal assistant, general maintenance worker, print shop, and administrative assistants. But in January, that process was paused and shifted to individual reclassification requests. While well-intended, the shift has slowed progress. A position-by-position approach alone will not resolve a system-wide issue. The agency's own internal survey from May of 2025 reinforces this. In technical enforcement, 3 out of the 5 reviewed positions were misclassified. 1 had been approved previously, but went unimplemented for 6 years. It was discovered in our meetings. In OCM, all sampled positions were out of alignment in classification and likely compensation. At the same time, several key classifications were already under active collaborative review. The takeaway is clear. When we work together in a structured group process, progress is faster and more effective. Many employees are meeting modern demands under outdated job descriptions and compensation structures. That gap is continuing to grow. Reinstating a collaborative group-based review process allows the agency to address these issues consistently and sustainably. As a governing body, your role is critical to the agency's long-term strength, and that begins with its workforce. Teamster members are deeply invested in this agency and the communities we serve. We are committed to being part of the solution and moving this work forward together. We respectfully recommend resume a structured classification review process. Prioritize positions not updated in the last 3 years through a collaborative committee. Align compensation with current duties. Ensure pay reflects actual responsibilities as classifications are updated. Create clear advancement pathways. Establish transparent, structured career progression to support retention. Strengthen internal opportunities first. Expand transfers, outwork of class assignments across the divisions, not stuck in certain divisions. Invest in workforce development. Continue building internal capacity through training, certifications, and advancement pathways. In closing, this work is an opportunity to modernize the classifications, improve retention, and strengthen operations, while setting a strong example for other agencies. We appreciate your leadership and look forward to working together.
Thanks for taking the time to write that. Staff, any comments or? John?
Just briefly, Chair, we have been working very closely with the Teamsters on classification reviews. It is a difficult process to walk through. We are bringing some recommended changes to the fiscal assistant classification that we've been working on with them. And we are going through each one by one. We did do a salary survey together with them, and that brought some information to light. So we are taking, priorities in hand and then walking through them as best as we can.
Thanks, John. Board members, any questions for staff or comments? None? Vanessa?
John, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Veronica.
John, do we have a due date or a goal to get to those revisions?
The classifications, one of them, like I said, we are bringing forward to the board in June, one set. There are 2 other classification studies that have been submitted to HR, and those are going along there are MOU guidelines and deadlines in there, and so we're following along with those. And they come at different stages, and so there's an initial review period, and then we follow up with the employees and the supervisors. So we are going through the MOU provided process.
Thank you.
No more comments or questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Supervisor?
Thank you. I completely understand and appreciate really the arduous nature of reviewing classifications and conducting salary surveys, and yet they're really critical, particularly I think given advancing technology and particularly given what the nature of the work most of our team members do here. And so should be the expected kind of schedule or rotation, so it's a consistent regular view, so we don't fall into the scenario like we heard there that reviews hadn't been done in a significant number of years.
I don't know that I have in mind any particular timeline, although I do think that the work that we're doing with the Teamsters in particular has been very helpful in highlighting to us where the priorities are, and the ones that Jennifer mentioned are the first ones we're looking to. And we'll, go through the next ones as we see them and as they come forward. We do that on a regular basis. Not too long ago, we modified and upgraded the paralegal position, for example, an inspector position, an investigator position. So we do it sort of as operational needs raised to our attention, but we also work with the unions very closely.
Thank you.
Is this a receive and file, or do you need any?
You have one more.
We also have one more group to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Here, but I'd appreciate the 5 minutes if it's available to me.
Yes,
Good
please.
morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Lane Garcia. I'm a program supervisor in the Planning and Rule Development and Implementation Division. I help to administer the AB 2766 Local Government Subvention Fund Program. But I'm here today to speak to you on behalf of the South Coast Professional Employee Association as its recently elected president. Next slide, please. South Coast PEA is your locally raised, artisanal, bespoke DIY union that was created by employees of the AQMD and has been lovingly curated and administered ever since by volunteer employees that every day go out of their way to help their fellow employees. We are also big fans of this new state law that allows us to this opportunity to communicate with you on the employee data that you heard John speak on. We provide a public service to the community, so the labor conditions that management fosters has an effect on the public welfare. So that's what this legislation is seeking to address. Can I have the next slide, please? John provided overall vacancy rates for 2025, and on this slide, we present that same information over time, so we can see what kind of lessons we can glean from this. During and immediately after the pandemic, there was a steady increase in our vacancy rate as our agency failed to keep pace with changing economic conditions that saw more and more employees find a home elsewhere. There was even a brief period here where we saw a higher level of attrition among employees that had been here less than 5 years compared to retirees, something that had not previously happened at our agency. Employment at the South Coast AQMD was at one point extremely sought after and something worth keeping once had. But the outflux of new hires in the post-pandemic period showed that something fundamental in our agency had changed, or at least not kept pace. The benefit of employment here proved to be not as valuable to new hires. In this year's administrative committee meeting in April and in last year's board meeting presentation on this same topic, we heard board members present an important question about exit interviews and what they can tell us about our labor practices. Our management's response has been to say that there are such a wide variety of reasons why employees leave our agency that there is no one clear pattern that emerges. The implication being there that with so many different types of replies, there's nothing to be learned. I would submit to the board that the fact that there are so many different reasons for an employee to leave, that this in itself speaks volumes for an agency that used to attract talent that would stay for the duration of their careers. In our association, we also hear from employees as they leave the agency. What we've learned is that in that period where wage increases failed to keep pace, even with cost of living adjustments, that employees suffered reductions in earning power by continuing to be employed here. An agency whose wages do not keep pace with inflation is basically asking their employees to do them a solid, right? To take a hit in their current and future economic power for the benefit of the organization. This can work short-term in organizations that offer other attractive incentives. But if any of these table legs of wages, benefits, and working conditions start to get a little too wobbly, the whole edifice is going to topple over. What we've also learned from other employees that have left the agency, they stated that they were able to adapt to the imposition of this 2-day telework schedule. But the basic posture of management to treat telework as a point of negotiation akin to salary and benefits, rather than a basic operational policy. These employees have stated that this is untenable. An employer with a fickle approach to remote work adds too much unpredictability for an employee base that, given other opportunities and given the other issues present, such as lack of steady wage growth, we're clearly finding better options elsewhere, right? But it's not all doom and gloom. Let's get back to the slide here. Something happened, something changed. We applied a treatment and there were different results, which is the point of that, right? We had in 2024, a new good contract was adopted that helped correct some of the loss experienced by agency employees in the years preceding. You can see a dramatic change in the vacancy rate as a result in 1 year. The question for us now, as vacancy rates rise again, is will our agency apply the lessons learned in the past to upcoming negotiations that are set to ensue in the next 12 to 18 months? Can you please skip the next slide? And yeah, thanks. So the PEA encourages everyone involved to go beyond the data that's required to be presented every year at these meetings and really scratch the surface and look at the patterns that emerge. What we see looking at this data over time is that good contracts help with recruitment and retention. Listening to employees helps with recruitment and retention. And telework helps with recruitment and retention as well. There's a balance that can be struck in meeting the agency's operational needs and the needs of a modern workforce in Southern California. We at the PEA submit to you that these are not either or considerations, that meeting the needs of the labor force you seek to draw and retain are part and parcel of accomplishing the important work of this agency. Last slide, please. Myself and our board are available and at your service to answer any questions today and going forward. We appreciate your time. I know it's been a long meeting, but thank you for your time and attention today.
Thank you, Wade. We're going to lose some board members if we don't move forward pretty quickly. So does anybody have any really quick questions, or if you can hold? No questions. Okay. And Bay, there's no more speakers, right? I've got one public comment speaker.
Yes, there is one public comment speaker on this item.
Harvey, you've got 1 minute. Go ahead, please. You're muted, Harvey.
Hello, am I being heard? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
I'm Harvey Etter. I'm speaking for myself and Public Solar Power. I'd like to thank you for these presentations. I'd like to find out in detail exactly which workers are with the independent newly established union and the Teamsters, et cetera. I was a bit distressed to say that pay hasn't increased, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I think we got to look at the equity issues, especially for workers low and middle class. And that also reaching out, networking to the industries is important, and positive industries, the solar renewables, and to get vertical and horizontal integration, ownership and control decision making of those things, leverage house equity, et cetera, to buying, starting co-ops, joint ventures, et cetera, et cetera. Local control is extremely important. That's enough for now. I'd like to continue. I'm a member of AFL-CIO, the laborers union, for over 50 years. So this is what we need. And my granddad was before, he worked for Henry Ford before there was a union. It was involved in stuff back in the...
Thank you, Harvey. That concludes our public comment, and this is a receive and file. So we'll move on to item number 33.
Mr. Chair, we need to read into the record one item for item number 33. John?
I'll take the item. So the first is the Brown Act notice, and this agenda item does impact executive compensation. It seeks approval of an amendment to the executive agreements with the executive officer and the general counsel. As to the item itself, after a performance review process by the governing board, the item proposes increases to the compensation packages for the executive officer and the general counsel, and the executive agreements would be amended accordingly. Happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions for staff?
Just if I might, a question. I thought Brown Act required that you talk about, you indicate in public the amounts that we're talking about.
Since I'm affected by this item, I'm not going to address that, but
my understanding, Vice Chair, is that it's noticed just that the item itself is affecting executive compensation, and therefore it would give information so that if somebody wanted to look closer at it, they'd have the ability to.
All other agencies I'm involved with required that the salaries, et cetera, whatever it is reviewed, are revealed publicly.
Mr.
Go on,
Chair,
Supervisor.
that may be the rules of your governing body. I'm not certain that that's an actual Brown Act requirement.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I regret to say I'm not aware whether there is a requirement in the Brown Act, but in the event that there is a requirement, I would recommend that the staff go ahead and disclose that because we don't want to have to risk a litigation over an inadvertent error.
Yes, generally the increases for both are in the amount of $48,000. For the executive council, it's attributed to his 401A deferred compensation plan, and for the general counsel, it's deferred compensation, 5% salary increase, and for both of them, there's some additional vacation leave hours. Those are the amendments.
Any more questions for staff or comments? Is there any public comment on this item in the boardroom? Come forward. I see none. Online, I see none. So I'll entertain a motion.
Hagman moves.
Moved by Supervisor Hagman, seconded by Supervisor Mitchell. Okay, vote please.
Motion passes 9-0 with 4 absent.
Thanks, Faye. Final item in open session is amended administrative code and adopt resolution to comply with SB 707 requirements.
Mr. Chair, I know I had planned to do a presentation. If you would like me to really abbreviate it, I can do that. If you want me to skip it, I can do that as well.
What's your? Go ahead. Abbreviated, very abbreviated, Kurt says.
So the main item, if you could bring up this slide to, I believe, page 5. The main issue is that will affect the board is with respect to teleconferencing for non-elected committee members. If you could, the prior one, please. It doesn't apply to governing board meetings. It does not apply to elected officials who can still teleconference using the traditional teleconferencing procedures, but non-elected committee members, except for the administrative committee, will be allowed to participate remotely without posting at the remote location and the remote location's address. You could go to the next slide, please. There's several findings that need to be made, and they'll need to be re-upped every 6 months, similar to what we did during the pandemic. Last slide, please. The individual committees will need to vote for themselves by a majority to accept the approval of these new procedures for that individual committee. That wasn't 30 words, but I tried. If there's any questions, I can answer them.
Any questions, board members? What's the recommendation, Babe?
I would recommend that the board approve the changes, the changes to the administrative committee and adopt the proposed resolution.
Moved by Supervisor Hagman, second by Mayor Olmos. Is there any public comment in the auditorium? None? Seen any online? Raise your hand. None? Everybody would like to vote, please? Faye? Cast your votes and lock it in.
Motion passes 9-0 with 4 absent.
Thanks, Faye. Did you want to comment about closed session?
Yes, we will have a brief closed session.
Thank you.
It is necessary for the board to recess to closed session pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9A and 54956.9D1 to confer with its counsel regarding pending litigation which has been initiated formally and to which the South Coast AQMD is a party. The actions are Cruz Lopez Para, the South Coast AQMD, and John David Eckhart, LA Superior Court, case number 25 NNCV 00710. And it is also necessary for the board to recess to close section pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9A and 54956.9D4 to consider initiation of litigation, 3 cases. or one case. A report of any reportable actions taken in closed session will be provided to the clerk of the board. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.